We are 100 days into the Biden presidency, and so far the president's issued 40 executive orders. Half of them, they came in the first 3 days in office. Former White House Press Secretary Hogan Gidley is with us. Hogan, look, we do indeed have a rocket ship economy, and President Biden, I think he's in a position to take the credit. Do you think he should?
Oh, he'll take the credit. He'll try. But he has nothing to do with it. Donald Trump's economic policies improve the lives of all Americans, regardless of race, religion, color, or creed. And think about it. When you cut taxes and allow people to keep their own money, when you lower the corporate tax rate, jobs start coming back in. When you have fewer regulations, there's more expansion for energy independence in this country. The first time we've seen that in decades. All of those things have an impact and lead to things like the highest number of people employed from the African American community, the Asian community, Hispanic community, women employed at record numbers. When you do the opposite, which is what Joe Biden is proposing, the opposite is going to happen. You're raising taxes on people to the tune of trillions of dollars coming out of a global pandemic. You're increasing the corporate tax rate to make us completely non-competitive with the G7 countries, a higher tax rate, by the way, on corporations than does China. It absolutely is going to have an adverse effect on the American people. And they're going to see a stark difference between the record-setting highs when Donald Trump rebuilt the economy the first time, the pandemic hit, he rebuilt it again, as opposed to Joe Biden's policies that will cripple this country for decades to come, if not forever.
Let me go back to Joe Biden, the president, searching for his mask. He was outside, but the CDC has said it's okay not to wear a mask if you're fully vaccinated outside. Don't go into crowds, but at the same time, you don't have to wear a mask. I label that as mixed messaging, and I don't think it's the right thing at this particular time in America. What say you?
Well, first of all, I think whenever Joe Biden has a press conference, he's searching for a lot of things, whether it be his masks, his words, a cohesive thought, or a policy that actually benefits the American people and American workers. But in this particular instance, we saw another display, not just Joe Biden coming out to announce it was okay to not wear a mask outside. He was wearing a mask at the White House on his way to the podium outside alone. We already knew that, by the way. The CDC guidelines are clear. If you've been vaccinated and you're indoors and you're socially distanced, you don't need a mask. So what in the world was everyone doing in that joint address to Congress the other night wearing a mask? Only two things, one of the two things can be true. Either A, the vaccines don't work, which would be completely scary, or B, they're not following the science, which would also be completely scary. Neither one of those two things are good. We all know the vaccine works.
So why are they doing
Joe
it?
Biden had the vaccine, but it's all virtue signaling, Stu. This President Joe Biden received the vaccine before he was actually sworn into office, thanks to Donald Trump. Now, all of a sudden, he continues to wear a mask, even though it's against what his own CDC says. It's against the science. He keeps schools shut down, even though the science says open schools back up. He doesn't care about the science. He doesn't care about reality. He cares about virtue signaling to try and pretend he somehow is your superior because he has on a piece of cloth over his face.
Gotta go, Hogan Gidley, but it was good to see you back again. And we'll see you again real soon, I hope. Thank you, Hogan. All right.